Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, what's up guys? I hope everybody is having a wonderful day today. So I was just sitting back going through comments on my past videos. I love to catch up the comments soon as I have time to. And I was looking at everybody talk about how they love black currant, I think it's called, and how they're not really too fond of grape, the flavor grape, which tend to be my favorite, my favorite flavor. But it also, as I read the comments, it made me just realize how much I haven't experienced. Cause I don't know what black currant is. I'm about to go to the grocery store and ask. I mean, even though I know America I don't think we really have it, but I'ma still just ask anyway, because you just never know. But unfortunately, even if I get it out here in America, I'm sure it would not be the same, But it just made me as I was reading those comments, I just kept thinking like, phew, I really don't know. My taste buds don't know what that's like. To me, grape is like amazing, But I'm learning. I'm learning. But today we got how do they teach the American Revolution in Britain? So the way that it's taught in America, let's start there, right? When you look up why the American Revolution started in America, it says the American Revolution was principally caused by colonial opposition to British attempts to impose greater control over the colonies and to make them repay the crown for its defense of them during the French and Indian War. Some of the main causes were taxes. It says the British made the colonists pay taxes on everyday items that the colonists used. And in the Boston Massacre, British soldiers fired into a crowd of people. Several people were killed, including a man named Crispus Attucks, which I guess that's what really set it off. But so that's the American point of view. Now we about to see how Britain teaches it. With that being said, I was smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, greats over achieving, never slacking. And here we go. Original link will be in the description.
This video is made possible by the Great Courses Plus, an on-demand video learning service, learning your own pace with no tests and no schedules. Check out the Great Courses Plus through the link in the description below. More about them a little later. The American Revolution is one of the historical events that, together with things like the French Revolution among other things, helped usher in the modern era. The Americans, on the whole, tend to be proud of this event and focus on it heavily in their school curriculum, as it heralds the birth of their nation and the triumph of a handful of terrorists against their government and fellow countrymen. But what do schools in Britain have to say about the American Revolution? To begin with, on the surface, if one talks to people on the street or reads a British book on the subject, Americans will perhaps be positively surprised to see that today there are no hard feelings in England regarding the Americans' choice to leave the glorious British Empire. May it reign forever. But really, we don't care. It seems like a peachy divorce with no grudges held or hostile views taken. After all, for the last century at least, the UK has been the closest ally of the US in Europe, with mutual support in all major conflicts of the 20th century, and both follow similar policies so consistently that the UK has, on occasion, been
Imagine if British secretly controlled the US.
ironically referred to as the 52nd state. But there is a catch. While the American Revolution is a cornerstone of American history, in Britain, well, it seems that the subject of the American War of Independence, as it is known in the UK, is rarely mentioned in British education books of past and present, or at least not in any great detail. That's not to say it's not mentioned anywhere, simply that while they may learn a little about early American history, including the War of Independence, it's more of a footnote in British history. It's probably also worth mentioning that when it is mentioned, it is never seen from a nationalistic point of view. For example, we don't angrily shake our fists at a picture of Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. Rather, it's covered frankly, and then we move on swiftly to more interesting and relevant subjects to British history. For example, the focus in history is much more centered around things like the Roman times, for example, the legendary resistance of Queen Boudicca against the might of Rome, or later periods such as the Hundred Years' War and the intrigues of the Tudors generally trying to keep track of all the beheadings in the Tower of London. In more modern times, emphasis is put on issues such as industrial.
Jeez, all those beheadings, you heard them? When I made a short last night out of that video where I reacted to Jerusalem, the unofficial anthem of England, and someone was like, so, ignorant people for some reason love to comment mainly on short videos. They just pop up. They're like, oh, what is he even talking about? Because I was speaking about, imagine how many people were like pushed off of cliffs and how much happened in history, things that you see in TV or read about or hear about. So obviously it's not far fetched. I mean, war is a part of a lot of cultures, unfortunately.
Industrialization, colonialism, and the post-colonization era, as well as the events during the World Wars and internal reforms. As to the aggression of the British Empire, while many certainly complain that it's not fully represented, it is far from omitted. British imperialism, for example, in Africa, is of course addressed. So why not focus on the American War of Independence and the birth of one of the most influential nations in modern history? It seems that the lack of details when teaching about American independence is not due to shame, envy, or part of a continuous effort to hide the UK's colonial past, as, say, the case might be in Japan. Rather, the main reason is the unspectacularly trivial fact that the American Revolution is seen as a minor detail in comparison to other events directly related to British history. The US breaking off was simply just one of many nations that did it for a whole lot of reasons. Indeed, if one looks at the larger scope, more than 60 countries celebrate independence from the British Empire, which in its heyday had control over 1/5 of the globe's population. That would amount to, on average, one Independence Day celebration of a country every week in a given school year. A phlegmatic English answer would be to say,
that's crazy. And you know what's funny? I was watching, because I'm always talking to my different clients, and I was around, I was about to say her name, but I was around one that's in her 70s yesterday, and we were talking, and we were talking about Britain and so much stuff, and we came across this one movie called something with the Zulus, but like the British, he was on a horse, and he was in Africa, one of the British people, and he looked over the some type of cliff or mountain, and it was like thousands of Zulus. Like, it was my client. We were looking at it through on a clip on YouTube, and we were just like, "What? Could you imagine? Like, that's some terrifying stuff." Then I know there was a war where it took them like 12 hours of just shooting down Zulus because Zulus were just coming, like, no gun, just spears and just coming and coming and coming. Like, it took 12 hours. But it's like, sometimes when I think about stuff like that, I just think about the shape they were in. Jeez. And then her husband, my client's husband, was telling me, I guess there was like 50 people from Britain. Was it Britain? I might be wrong. It might not. They went to, I guess, the Inca Empire, and it was like 150,000 Incas, and I guess they shot some down, and that was really it, allegedly, But I gotta do my homework on that some more before I speak on it. Let me do my homework.
That we have better things to focus on than every country's Independence Day. So, the American Revolution is equated with other similar events, and it is rather addressed as an armed uprising of an important but distant rural populace against taxes, so hardly unique.
Thinking we start cutting carbs, I need to drop my belly fat.
In history. The importance of ideas such as enlightenment, freedom, and democratic values are viewed by Americans on the basis of their revolution as one prime example thereof. But the schools in the UK, similar to most European countries, focus on other incidents. Some of them are closer to home and widely acknowledged as shaping history, such as the French Revolution. Another example is the post-colonialism era in Asia and Africa as one of the main facets of world history. These, rather than American independence, are considered to provide the historical depth necessary for such discussions in the UK classrooms. Thus, the War of American Independence will most likely come up as an addendum, providing context when dealing with the French Revolution or with trade regulations within the British Empire as an example of a taxation policy gone wrong. It can also be related to the long-term effects of the 7 Years' War, which may be considered one of the causes that would eventually lead to the higher taxation that in turn ignited the revolutionary actions in the Americas. Of course, that does not mean that American history is shunned from British schools, far from it. The developments of civic rights, the role of American industrialization, and the combined efforts with the British in the World Wars and the Cold War are placed highly in various stages of the curriculum, be it in the early key stages of the English system or adapted for older students of 15 to 18 years, such as during the A-level and GCSE exams. To give an example within the history books provided by AQA, that's a blast from the past. Out of more than 30 titles covering the period from the Crusades up to the 21st century, 2 refer directly to the USA. The Making of a Superpower, USA, 1865 to 1975, and The American Dream, Reality and Illusion, 1945 to 1980. The titles are indicative of the thematic stressed in each book. Notice that there is no book specifically dealing with the USA before 1861. Besides these reasons, the lack of emphasis on the American Revolution could be seen as related to the political scene within the UK itself. The UK is regarded by some as a fragile nation, as emphasised by much talk of independence by individual regions, especially in the last decade. The independence of a mainly English-speaking American colony, which is also culturally related to England, is much more on par with the Scottish or North Irish independence movements than, say, the Indian independence of 1947. But to sum up, in general, the American Revolution is not negatively portrayed in British schools, as some might first assume. Rather, it is seen as one of many world history events which are linked to the understanding and teaching of UK history.
Safe to say, to really simplify this, it seemed like the British just they ain't worried about that. They ain't. That's what I'm getting from this. That they're not really. That's not a big marker for them. It's not a big focus.
History without being particularly vital to it, and thus not really worth covering in depth. And I'll just add on a personal note here that when we started doing this series of how it's so
I can imagine somebody watching right now. Those Americans always want to simplify something.
So taught in another part of the world. Someone asked me this on Twitter, and my response is it's just not taught. We don't really look at it. And, well, now you've had the more in-depth answer. And you know what else is worth covering in depth? Literally every subject available from our friends at the Great Courses Plus, which is an on-demand library of wonderful courses that help you get all kinds of wicked smart.
This guy reminds me of what's it, Hogsmeade in in Harry Potter, right? And that Hogwarts Legacy game. I gotta get back on that, man. But Hogwarts Legacy, it's this place you go to named called Hogsmeade or something, where you could go just buy potions and buy some wands. He looked like somebody that would be in that store. He could get me a broomstick for Quidditch or something.
Like those rabble-rousing colonial Americans. No, really, we don't mind. If you're enjoying this video, I think you'll really enjoy their course on the age of Benjamin Franklin. Or if you want to zoom out a little bit, maybe check out their broader course, A History of the United States, 2nd edition. That one's absolutely massive. It's an 84-part exploration of American history, and those 84 parts, I think they're like half an hour each, so that's not a joke. Basically, the Great Courses Plus is like a university education, but it's at your own pace. No tests, no schedules, and it's incredibly easy to access. PC, tablet, phone. They've also got audio streaming, very convenient, so you can learn and listen, or listen and learn, on the move. There are thousands of lectures to choose from, so it's great stuff. Try it out for free at thegreatcoursesplus.com/brainfood, or click the link in the description below and let's get into today's bonus fact. Ever wonder what the difference between the UK, England, and Great Britain is? Honestly, yes, sometimes even as a British man. The actual name of the sovereign state we are talking about here is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the UK. The United Kingdom is made up of the countries England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. The confusion of the terms seems to revolve around the term country and the political powers that are perceived based on that word. While the 4 countries that make up the UK are generally considered separate in the minds of locals, and in certain sporting events, their powers for local law and control are devolved from the UK. Think of the 50 states of the United States. While each state has their own set of laws, they are all under the power of the federal government. In the case of the UK, it is somewhat similar, though certain responsibilities are also implied, like healthcare and education, that are delegated to 3 of the 4 countries. The responsibilities that are delegated differ from one country to the next. England is the only country in which the UK does not devolve any powers, and instead it is legislated directly by the UK government. When it comes to international politics, it is the sovereign nation of the UK that is recognised, and not any of the 4 constituent countries. The term Great Britain refers to the landmass that comprises England, Scotland, and Wales. Something that aids in the confusion as to the difference between Great Britain and the UK is that the term is sometimes internationally used as a synonym for the UK. For instance, the UK's Olympic team competes under the name Great Britain, and the ISO, International Organisation for Standardisation, gives the UK the country codes of GB and GBR. This can be confusing given that the ISO also codes England, Scotland, and Wales as subdivision countries of the UK, but Northern Ireland as a subdivision province. If you're getting the impression that Northern Ireland is the red-headed stepchild of the UK, you may be right, both figuratively and literally, we suppose. The confusion over the definition of these 4 countries in reference to the UK is further muddied up in sporting competitions. There are several international sporting events like the Commonwealth Games and football competitions in which each of the 4 has their own team, and they do not compete under a unified national team. When competing under these conditions, their nations are referred to as home nations. Because each team is from a specific home country, it can lead some to think that these countries have political autonomy as well. If you're curious about when these unions between the countries that comprise the UK came about, it happened as follows. England and Wales were joined in 1536. Scotland and England were joined together in 1707, along with the previously joined Wales, to officially form the Kingdom of Great Britain. Ireland decided to join up in 1801, at which point the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland was formed. In 1922, however, many of the southern counties of Ireland decided to remove themselves from the Union, and the UK changed their name to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So, in summary, Great Britain is England, Scotland, and Wales. The UK is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and the full name is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. England is just the part of the island that is England. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, check out our great sponsor, The Great Courses Plus, link below, and thank you for watching.
We went into a completely different video at the end. To a completely different video, but hey, it's all good. Shout out to that man. He has a really cool, calming vibe. Just somebody who looked like he would know a lot about a lot of different topics, right? But someone who looked like he know where the hidden jewels is, where you can find some the portals to some mermaids or something, or the fae or something like that. That's a compliment coming from me. Shout out to him. But yeah. As far as the ending to his videos, so I'm gonna say this again. So Southern Ireland is just Southern Ireland would just be the Republic of Ireland, right? See, now he got me thinking about that. I just to make sure. I like to brush up. Southern Ireland Republic. Am I wrong? Southern Ireland Republic? That's what it would be called? Okay. Alright, so I think I'm right? And then Northern Ireland, UK. But yeah, so what do you guys think about that? Like about the American Revolution? To be honest, it's not something that like a big focus point for me either. Obviously, the Brits aren't looked at highly in that topic. So as far as from the American perspective, they looked at as the oppressor. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know as far as how Brits would truly feel. I'm gonna have to wait for them comments. That's the beautiful thing about this channel. I get to get it live and direct and hear how people really feel about that. But yeah. Other than that, I definitely enjoyed the video. I wanted to Helen. Shout out to Helen. I had to ask you because I know right? As far as skincare. Right now, I'm gonna kind of switch the topic a little bit, just a little bit, right? Since we're wrapping up the video, my skin be very clear, but I go to or something. I go to the gym. I'm going to the gym right after this. I sweat a lot. This right here, this bump has been annoying me, like from the sweat, and I just recently started using witch hazel. But for those that's in the UK that really got that, used to herbs and just what. help a brother out, you know. What's good? Especially, you know, I got a little darker skin, so, you know, point me in the right direction. You know, those that's 50 plus that, you know the game, know how to keep, put me on. Okay? Put me on. That's all I'm saying. Because this bump is pretty, it's annoying. It gets all humid and sticky and nasty, and, you know, I sweat a lot. I'm always, you know, working out. I'm always working out. I'm always on the move, so I'm constantly sweating. So, if anybody got any advice for that, I'll appreciate it. But with that being said, I'm looking forward to them comments. Enjoy your day, and I will see you all soon. Much love. See, I love it because we're becoming like this family, right? I feel like I'm like that. I don't want to say annoying, maybe to some, but that I guess younger sibling in the family, older to some, but majority that I see in the comments usually, you know, seem like they're a little older. I feel like I'm like that younger sibling that, you know, that you just kind of like not, that's not perfect. You know, that kind of gets stuff mixed up sometimes, you know, like and you just, but he got a good heart. You know, I got a good heart. So they're like, all right, you know, I'll be patient with him. And I'm, you know, a little intelligent too, so it works out. You know, we build off of each other. But definitely, I feel like a lot of people are becoming like family on this channel for sure. But with that being said, I will see you all soon. Much love.